Welcome to yet another edition of the Stats and Stacks podcast. For today, we're going over UFC Vegas 51. Bilal Muhammad versus Vicente Luque. Last week, not the most profitable week. He had a fight canceled, so we ended up going 2 of 5 on picks. Not the greatest in the world. Peter Yan fucking screwed us. None of our dogs came through. Not a lot of dogs are barking. I think there were 2 or 3 with Olynyk and God, Sterling. I saw the Sterling one coming, but I just couldn't pull the trigger. God, you know what? You're not gonna. We've been on a pretty good roll here. You're not gonna win them all, so we're gonna go ahead, rebound. They do a lot better on the non-pay-per-view cards for whatever reason anyway. So this one is far from a pay-per-view. It's not the greatest UFC offering. Not something I would recommend someone who doesn't watch UFC often watch. But for the diehards or the sports bettors, there's always money to be had, always good fights to be watched. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to jump into this card here. I'm kind of miss when they used to have the names for each card. If there's a name for this one, it'd be UFC Vegas 51 fucking walking punching bags, because there's not going to be a lot of defense here. A lot of people that just block punches with their faces, and we just got to decipher who's going to be the one getting their shit rocked. So we'll walk through it. We'll get some money this week. Starting with the very first fight of the night here, we have Kevin Croom at plus 155 going up against Alatang Heli at minus 180. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 165. Under 2.5 plus 135. We can go ahead and we can start with Alatang here. Things to like about him is the fact that he has a pretty good wrestling background, but he just doesn't utilize it too much. His striking's okay, but he's kind of lower volume and he gets hit a shit ton. Like, you can beat the shit out of this guy. He's very, very durable. I know earlier in his career, he could get knocked out a little bit earlier in his career when you go all the way back. But as of late, this dude just takes hard punches and keeps walking forward. You see it with Casey Kenny. He's not really a knockout artist, but Ryan Benoit can crack. Dana Bakhtarel can crack, and this dude just keeps marching forward. I like that he's at fight ready now, and that's the only reason I might be leaning his way, solely on the fact that Fight Ready is known for their wrestling. They take average guys and give them a gas tank, and they give them wrestling. That's what they do. You look at Korean Zombie's win over Dan Ige, he out-wrestled him. No one saw it coming. You look at the resurgence of Eric Anders, he wrestled him. He wrestled people like Darren Stewart. No one saw it coming. You look at Yuri Prohaska's there now. You look at John Jones, that's the new camp that he's training at. Everyone there, Davidson Figueroa went out there and wrestled Brandon Moreno. They take these guys, they give them a gas tank, they give them a strong wrestling background. Zhang Weili took down Rose. I thought she won that fight, but irregardless, there was a lot more takedowns that fight than would have been anticipated from her. And Alatang has a wrestling background, so you think he would put it to use here. He really, really needs to against Kevin Croom. Kevin Croom is not the greatest fighter in the world, but he is big for this weight class. The dude made his debut at lightweight against Roosevelt Roberts and got a W there, got it snatched away because he was smoking some weed before taking that short notice fight. But that has nothing to do. It's not a PED by any means. If anything, it should have made him slower. So he came in, got a win, even though it reads as a draw. His next fight was down at featherweight against Brian Boom Kelleher. And at that juncture, Boom is pretty good. He is a bantamweight. Kevin Croom again took that fight on short notice, and I know he talked about making a move down the bantamweight. That fight came up. He could fight at 145 against someone else that's a 135 pounder. He looked all right. It was a lot scarier than it should have been. And I'm sorry, that was his last fight. The fight before that, he got crushed by Alex Caceres, who used to fight at bantamweight. So he decided if he's going to fight 2 bantamweights at featherweight, he's going to drop all the way down to bantamweight, actually do the damn thing. So he is going to have a 7-inch reach advantage here. A huge size advantage. This is someone that used to fight at 155, 20 pounds up. But Croom is also pretty hittable. His wrestling did not look good against Brian Kelleher. Brian Kelleher can wrestle, don't get me wrong, but he made him look like an Olympian. So that is concerning. So at this juncture, you're really looking at Croom as a striking advantage. Alatang has a wrestling advantage, but will Alatang wrestle? And that last fight against Korean Zombie was the last fight that Fight Ready had with Korean Zombie is a good thing because he didn't wrestle and he got his ass whooped. And I think they're going to go back to the bread and butter. So let's watch this prospect actually wrestle and let's watch him actually get the win. So the pick is going to be Alatang Ali. The bet would be him as well. Do I trust him? Fuck no. I really don't. But I also don't think he's going to finish Kevin Kroom on the ground. So I don't hate the over here at minus 165. I would either go Haley or I would go the over. They're basically the same price and they should pan out. The over actually might be a little safer there. And then the next fight of the night, we're looking at Estela Nunez at minus 220, going up against Sam Hughes at plus 180, over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 290, under 2.5 plus 215. We can start with Nunez because she was someone that kind of impressed me when I didn't expect her to. She's coming off a long hiatus. It was like a 2 or 3 year layoff when she came in and made her debut against Ariana Carnelozzi. And Carnelozzi's no joke, man. She's pretty good. She's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, really strong, hits hard. And Estela came out and whooped her ass on the feet. She was very, very, very good striking. She had really good volume. Her wrestling is a work in progress. Her ground game is kind of non-existent. She only has 2 career losses, and they're both by submission. One by anaconda choke, one by the rear naked choke there. So, I mean, all in all, you're just looking at someone that now trains at ATT, trying to get some good work in, and she's predominantly a striker, and she knows she has to keep it there. Sam Hughes is the complete opposite. She is this matchup's punching bag. She cannot strike whatsoever. She has pretty decent jiu-jitsu, but her wrestling game, I mean, the girl is 5-4 for a reason. In the UFC, she's 0-3 on takedown attempts. She is someone that's supposed to come down. In her regional fight tape, she comes in, she takes you down, she grounds and pounds and submits you. The problem is she has 0 takedowns in the UFC. And not only that, she's getting taken down. She got taken down a plethora of times by Luana Pinheiro last fight. And Luana is predominantly a striker. She has a judo background, and she was tossing Sam around left and right. Luma Lume is the issue. She is like a 5-foot anim weight who has to fight at 115 because that's as low as they go. And she's a Muay Thai striker, and she took Sam Hughes down 4 times. That's embarrassing. That is a striker, a weight class up, taking you down with ease. That is not a good look. Tisha Torres, she won by knockout. Tisha Torres has only had 1 knockout in her career, and it's against Sam Hughes. And it wasn't even a knockout. Sam Hughes got a cut. She did take the fight on short notice. I understand that, but she quit. She got a cut on her face. It was not as bad. I've seen some pretty gnarly cuts in the UFC. It was a kind of a rudimentary cut. It was pretty small. And she quit. She just stopped fighting. So I don't think I can trust anyone. The way she wins fights is the exact way Estela loses fights, but I can't trust someone that has 0 takedowns and has quit in a fight before to take down a striker and finish her. I just can't do it. So the pick is going to be Estela, and the bet is going to end up being Nunez as well. All right. Then the next fight of the night, we have one I'm kind of torn on. We have Jordan Levitt at plus 110 going up against Trey Ogden at minus 130. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. Let's go ahead and start with Jordan Levitt here. He's the definition of one-dimensional, and he is the punching bag in this instance. His striking is non-existent. The words I have in my notes are ass. That's how bad he is. His wrestling isn't that good. I remember it being better than it was after I did fight tape. It's not that good. He'll just find a way to the ground by any means. If he has to pull guard, if he has to shoot a sloppy takedown, if you shoot a takedown, he will gladly just fall down so that you end up on the ground. Because his jiu-jitsu is world class. His jiu-jitsu is very, very good. I think on paper, he's only like a brown belt, but he does not feel like it. This dude is phenomenal. He's very strong. He's deceptively strong, very, very flexible. The dude is great on the ground. I mean, if you just look at his record here, all of his wins are by submission. He slammed Matt Weinman. That was funny. Submission, decision, decision. Like, all of his wins are by grounding you on the ground and either finishing you or holding you there. His one loss was to Claudio Puelles, who is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. So he was able to stay safe on the ground. So he was able to win the striking exchanges and then stay safe on the ground. My issue is Trey Ogden is technically a black belt on the ground. So technically, there's not a lot of differences, in all honesty, between Trey Ogden and Claudio Puelles. He will have a striking advantage here. He's not the greatest striker in the world, but he's at least competent. Again, Jordan's is god awful. His jiu-jitsu, again, on paper is a black belt. His wrestling is okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's there, though. It's probably better than Jordan's, in all honesty. This is his debut. And I know he can be backed up a ton, which I'm not a fan of fighting Jordan Levitt. But again, Trey is at Glory MMA, which is a pretty good camp to be at. But the thing I want to emphasize is the fact that it says he's a black belt, but he has 1, 2, 3 losses on his record, and it's by submission, and submission. That's concerning to me. Oh, he has 4 losses. Sorry. 3 of them are by submission. And that's very, very, very concerning to me, solely on the fact that I'm getting really, really big Jared Vanderaa vibes. Last week, we had Jared Vanderaa. We chose him to win over Alessio Oleinik. Alessio Oleinik had one path. He has 0 striking. He can't wrestle. But if it hits the ground, he has a chance to get a submission. And I said, you know what? Jared is a black belt. At least he should be okay there. But all of his losses are by submission. I don't understand how he's a black belt and he keeps getting tapped out, but it just keeps happening. And this is the exact same scenario. Trey will have the striking advantage. He will have the wrestling edge. All Jordan can do is get it to the ground and try to tap him out. Trey is a black belt. He should be fine. But like we saw last week, Oleinik got it done. Is Jordan going to get it done? I don't like betting on Jordan. He has no volume, no striking, one-dimensional, no wrestling. But he is the one with UFC experience, and he is the one with the plus money next to his name. So unfortunately, I can't bet Trey. I don't want to bet Jordan, but if you force my hand, the pick would be Levitt, and the bet, unfortunately, would be Levitt. But it's such low value at just plus 110. I would just stay away if you can. All right. Then the next fight of the night, we're looking at Martin Buday at minus 240, going against the legend Chris Barnett at plus 195. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 plus 130. Under 1.5 minus 160. You know we got to start with our buddy Chris Barnett here. This dude, he's something. Not a lot of words to describe him. I mean, he's 5'9". He's fought as heavy as 300 pounds. He's cutting weight to get down to 265, which is just craziness. We all know that he should probably be a middleweight, but he has good striking, and he's very, very fast for someone that large. The dude is quick as hell. He has phenomenal striking, and he fights a Taekwondo style that he said he did Taekwondo when he was smaller as a child, and it just translated. Even the more weight he put on, he was still able to perform those moves. All you're going to hear anyone talk about is his last fight, because it was a spinning back kick knockout. Yes, this man, 5'9", 300 pounds, did a spinning wheel kick and knocked a man out. The dude does flying knees. He throws some wild jumping Superman punches. He throws some wild shit. Especially for someone his size, you don't see it coming. And he will have the striking advantage in this fight. Will he have the power advantage? Yeah, I think he can have a one-hitter quitter. I don't know if Buday does. Problem is Barnett does not have the greatest cardio. It was displayed in the Ben Rothwell fight. He will fade, and he will fade quickly. So basically, if you're able to take him down, all of his gas tank is going to be used trying to get back up or trying to stay alive. So if you can have any semblance of a grappling game, Chris Barnett is in some serious trouble. And that is all Buday does. Buday is not a good striker by any means. In all of Buday's fights, I watched him get pieced the fuck up. He is the walking punching bag. Every fight this card has one, and it is certainly Martin this fight. He gets hit a shit ton. The problem is he seems pretty durable. I mean, I don't think he's ever been knocked out. No, his one loss is to Juan Espino. Juan Espino is a good fighter, and he was able to go the distance with him. Secondly, he doesn't have good wrestling, but he kind of pulls a Rocky Pennington and just kind of holds you against the cage with a Muay Thai clinch or just a collar tie. He will back you up against the cage. If he will shoot a takedown. If he can't get it, he's content to have you against the cage and just wear on you. Put all 265 pounds on you, and he will wear on you. And he is a heavyweight. Barnett is not. Barnett's a welterweight or a mini or a middleweight with a lot of fat on him. That's all he is. So But don't get me wrong, Barnett could knock him out. He is very, very hittable. He does not move his head whatsoever. Boudet is there to get hit, but he can pressure you. And if he gets a hold of you, he's going to put you up against a cage and wearing your gas tank, something Barnett does not have. I don't want to roll the dice and see which one happens first, Barnett gassing and getting finished, or Boudet getting cracked and actually going out one of these times. So I didn't mind the under. I don't like the fact that it's 1.5, but for whatever reason, I thought it was 2.5. I don't like it at 1.5 as much. I like the fight not to go the distance quite a bit. I would almost consider that a lock at this juncture, the fight not to go the distance, but those won't be good odds with it being minus 160 at under 1.5. So I would just play that game in all honesty. I'd probably play the under here opposed to a roll, opposed to a person. So the pick is going to be Boudet, but the bet would probably be the under at minus 160. All right, then the next fight of the night, we have one that I'm kind of conflicted on. We have Jesse Ronson at minus 105 going up against Rafa Garcia at minus 115. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 175. Under 2.5 plus 145. God, let's start with Rafa Garcia because he's a tale of two people. He was undefeated over in Combate. He looked very good, but I always say Combate competition is very suspect in all honesty. But he looked good. He looked the part still. He came over to the UFC on short notice and looked phenomenal in a loss against Nazareth Akpress. Nazareth's not bad. He's on a little bit of a slump right now, but he's a pretty good fighter. And Rafa looked phenomenal in a loss, especially on short notice. So everyone thought he would be a killer with the whole training camp. Came in against Chris Gutzmacher and whooped his ass the first round. Cracked him so hard, went in for the kill. Did not get the finish and gassed himself out. What do they call blow his load in the first round? And that was all he had to offer. He gassed himself out, and then Chris just picked him apart the next 2 rounds. And that was that. He lost a decision. He was one of the biggest favorites on that card, and he should have won that fight. If they run that back, I think he wins. If they fight 10 times, I feel like Rafa wins probably 7. But that was one of the 3, man. Chris won that night. There's nothing you can do. So people were on the fence. Who really is Rafa Garcia? We had an undefeated Natan Levy going up against him, who is predominantly a wrestler as well as a jiu-jitsu practitioner. And Rafa, he lost the first round. Then he showed a little grit, winning the second and the third. Had, I think, want to say 7 takedowns that fight. And he's gotten a ton of takedowns. His wrestling is deceptively good. I did not know it was that good until he hit the UFC. He has quite a few takedowns in his UFC tenure. His jiu-jitsu game, he's a black belt, so he is perfectly fine on the ground and was able to hold his own when Natan Levy took him down. Striking is okay. It's not good. It's not bad. It's all right. He's just kind of a brawler in all honesty on the feet. His cardio, we don't know. I've seen it look bad. I've seen it look good. You never know which Rafa Garcia is going to show up. So all in all, he's pretty much a generalist and he's okay everywhere. I don't love the guy. I don't hate the guy. You kind of know when to fade him and when to bet him contingent on if someone's just a specialist and what he can do. His best quality is probably his wrestling. And that's what leaves me at a concern with Jesse Ronson. Jesse Ronson is going to have a 2-inch reach advantage, and he is the better striker here. Jesse Ronson has more experience. He's more durable. But he himself is kind of a generalist, and he's 36 years old. So I'm very, very, very concerned just solely on the fact that Jesse Ronson is also someone I don't have a good read on. He's someone who came in on short notice. I'm sorry, let's start all the way back. This is his second stint in the UFC. You'll hear a lot of people talk about that as well. I don't like this Matt Dwyer loss, but his first stint in the UFC, he lost to Michel Pereira. He was good at that point, and it was a split decision. Very close fight. Jesse got taken down quite a bit. Francisco Trinaldo, pretty good fighter in his prime. Pretty close fight. He got taken down a little bit. They gave the decision to Francisco in a split. Kevin Lee, really good in his prime. Split decision. Got taken down a little bit. So what we see is that he is the better striker than all 3 of these men. It was very close, kind of close on the feet. He would get taken down, but not controlled. He'd get back up. And 2 of the judges gave it to the other fighter. 1 of the judges gave it to Jesse. All split decisions. Goes on the regional scene, gets some dominant wins, gets a few losses here, hit a little rough patch, then came back and got a few more wins, fought some decent people. and then ends up getting a call back short notice of the UFC up a weight class at 170. He fights Nicholas Dalby, looks impressive, club and sub, rocks his shit, grabs his neck, and he has the best nickname in the business, the body snatcher. Love it. This dude snatches Nicholas Dalby's body. He cracks him, grabs his neck, chokes him out, looks phenomenal, and pops for PEDs. So now the dude has not fought in 20 months. He's 36 years old. He should have an advantage on the feet. He should be able to hold his own on the ground and in wrestling. He has the experience, but 2 years off. I was leaning Hoffa just solely on the fact that I did see that wrestling a lot more than I thought I would. But Ronson is a better gas tank, and I don't know what Hoffa's gas tank is like. I've seen it good and bad. God, I want to stay the hell away from this fight. I really can't pick a winner. I'll stay with Hoffa. A lot of analysts are choosing Ronson. Everyone was on Ronson when Ronson was dog money. I think it's a great dog play. Now that it's damn near a straight pick 'em, I don't want to touch it. What I do like is that both of these guys are pretty durable. They're pretty hard to finish. So I'll actually take the over 2.5 at minus 175. I don't think that's bad odds for two guys that are both generalists, both not extreme killers. They can be, but they don't always get finishes. And two guys that really are hard to finish. So you have two durable guys that are generalists. I like the over 2.5 at minus 175. I like it a decent amount there. Then the next fight of the night is a pretty interesting one here. We have Jakar Close at minus 650, and I'm seeing the skyrocket to the point where he's like minus 800 on some books. Brandon Jenkins plus 460. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 105. Under 2.5 minus 125. This is all up to Jakar Close. And I'll tell you why. Jakar Close has not finished a fight in the UFC. He is not a finisher. But what he was, when you look here, you see that he was at Fight Ready. He's one of the only men I know that got kicked out of Fight Ready. He left Fight Ready. Nobody does that, but he's been gym hopping quite a bit. Him and his girl, Courtney Casey, this dude, he's been in like 6 different gyms the last 2 years, man. He was having some issues up in Arizona. I believe he's back at MMA Labs where he originally started now. He had an interview saying that he's home. So, I mean, good for him. Hopefully he straightened things out, but he has all the talent in the world. We talked about the last people being a generalist. He is definitely a generalist. He's okay wrestling, okay striking, no power, okay on the ground. He's just okay everywhere. All you're going to hear about is his battle with Beneil Dariush. Yeah, it was an exciting fight, but it only lasted so long. And that was the last fight he had. And that was quite a bit ago. That was in 2020. It's been 2 years. So I don't like these long layoffs. He was supposed to fight Jeremy Stevens, but of course, we know he got shoved at weigh-ins and got like whiplash and had to pull from the fight. So that's a little concerning. Otherwise, yeah, man, he gets hit a ton. He's the definition of generalist. He does nothing good. He does nothing bad. He's just kind of there, and that's good. But he has some pretty good wins here. I mean, beating Christos Giagos is a decent win. Bobby Green, decent win. Lando Venata, decent win. Mark Diakese, decent win. Like, he has some good wins on his record. His losses, David Tamor was a stud. Beneil Dariush might fight for a title soon. So, like, his losses are fine. He has good wins and 2 decent losses. His opponent, Brandon Jenkins, is nothing compared to the level that he's been fighting. My only issue is Close's last fight, he got knocked out. Brandon Jenkins has nothing but a puncher's chance, and Brandon Jenkins is wild as shit. I mean, his name is the human highlight reel, and he tries to abide by that moniker by any means. The dude has good striking, extremely hittable, 0 wrestling, not a ton of submission game. Like, the dude's not that good, in all honesty. I don't really think he's UFC caliber, but he hits hard and has flashy striking, so all he has is a puncher's chance. That's what he has from the start of the bell. I mean, you look at it, switch flying knee, spinning back elbow, KO, like all of it doesn't even just have his KOs. They're very, very funky KOs where they're spinning or flying. The dude is fun to watch. That doesn't mean you're good. And he is not UFC caliber. So that's why you see the odds the way they are. Jakar is head and shoulders a better fighter, but he's a little bit of a mental case. and he's coming off a 2-year layoff after getting knocked out, and he's fighting someone that is absolutely insane. So could he get caught? Absolutely. Should he get caught? Probably not. So the pick is going to be close. The bet, if close wins, it's going to hit the over. He does not finish people. So I don't like the odds that are with Jakar. So I'd actually just take the over 2.5 and call it a day. Minus 105 are pretty good odds for someone that only wins decisions. All right. Next fight of the night is probably the biggest lock of the night. We have Lena Landsberg at plus 310 going up against Pani Kianzad at minus 410. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 is minus 355. Under 2.5 is plus 275. Let's start with Lena Landsberg solely on the fact that there's not much to say about her. I can honestly say this is one of there's very, very few. But this is definitely one of the people where I have no positives in their game. I mean, her striking, she's billed as a striker, and she's not that good. She's okay striking, I guess, would be her best quality. She'll push you up against the cage and kind of pressure. That's good. That's all she has. Her striking's not good anymore. Her wrestling is awful. She's 40 years old. She gets hit more than she dishes out. She's the human punching bag here. She's 100% hittable. She's coming off a 2-year layoff. She slows down and gasses in fights. She is low volume. Like, there's literally no positives in her game. She was the original Rocky, hold you up against a cage, and she just finds a way to the ground. Her nickname is the Elbow Queen, but I haven't seen this bitch throw elbows in quite some time. She just, like, nothing against her. She's a pioneer. She came in fighting Cyborg. Like, all respect to the world. I can never get in the cage and fight, so all the respect in the world to her. I probably shouldn't use that word with her, but in all honesty, I just don't see a lot of positives. I don't see a lot of good wins here. Tanya Evander, no. Macy Chazon, it's probably her best win, and that's not that great. I don't even recognize some of these other girls. Losing to Cyborg is no issue, but Aspen Ladd obviously isn't the greatest. Yana Kupanskaya is not the greatest. Sarah McMahon's, she's all right, but she's not the greatest. So not exactly the best track record. And her very, very first loss is Pani Kianzad, the girl she's about to fight 10 years later. The difference is when they fought, Pani was better. Now, Pani is improved and Lena has not. So this fight could get even uglier. Should the overhit probably if the underhit, would I be shocked? No, because Pani is good striking. Her wrestling is it's okay, but it's probably better than Lena's. Her jiu-jitsu's gotten 10 times better. It's probably better than Landsberg's. Her wins, she has pretty decent wins on her record. I mean, she has wins over Sarge Eubanks, Alexis Davis, Betch Carrera, Jessie Rose Clark. Those are decent wins. Her losses were Cal Pennington, that's fine. Julia Avila, that's fine. Macy, yeah. But that was Ultimate Fighter. What are you gonna do? Sarah Kaufman, that's fine. And we're getting way back here into like 2015. So otherwise, yeah, man, her cardio checks out, her volume, good. She's good. She's good. And she's gonna kill her. So the pick is gonna be Pani. The bet would 110% be Pani. All right, next fight of the night does not have a lock. We have Devin Clark at minus 170 going up against William Knight at plus 150. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 160. Under 2.5 plus 130. Let's go ahead and start with William Knight. William Knight sucks, man. William Knight hits like a fucking truck. He is huge. He gets hit a ton, pretty much as many times as he dishes out. His wrestling is not the greatest here. All in all, you're going to think about this fight is at heavyweight, and that's the only thing that concerns me about this fight. William Knight missed weight his last fight. I know he took it on short notice up against Maxim Grisham, but he missed weight by like 12 pounds. And apparently he cuts down, and he was cutting like 45 pounds. He had to cut down to 205. So that means my man was weighing 250. Devin Clark, I don't think eating as much as he can weighs 250. So William Knight is going to have a size advantage here. It definitely favors him. He doesn't have a lot of great wins. That win against Alonzo Menefield, I thought he lost. Fabio Charant is not a good win. Alexa Kmore is not a good win. Cody Brundage is an okay win, but Cody was actually whooping his ass, and then he got caught. But all the power to him. Lost to Stefan Injikui, that's fine. Dalton Jung, that's fine. Maxim Grisham, again, he looked like a shell of himself. He did not do himself any favors with that fight. Devin Clark on the flip side has definitely fought the better people. He fought the likes of Anthony Smith. He fought God, who did he fight? He also fought Alonzo Menefield and won. He fought Ian Cutelaba. He fought Alexander Rakic, Slow Mike Rodriguez, the former champion Jan Blachowicz. Like, he's fighting really, really good guys here. He's losing to all the good guys in Rakic and Blachowicz. He's beating the ones he's supposed to in Daquan and Alonzo. I don't see a lot of differences in the way that that William Knight is going to take this fight compared to how what Alonzo did when he fought Devin Clark. Clark has good wrestling, a good wrestling background. Jiu-jitsu, not the greatest. He gets choked out a lot. Ryan Spann choked him out. Rakic knocked him out. Jan choked him out. Anthony Smith choked him out. Ian Cutelaba decision. So yeah, not a really good track record there in his losses. He gets finished quite a bit. Alex Nicholson, knockout. Jesus. Yeah, his chin's a little shaky. His ground game's a little shaky. William Knight has no ground game, so that's fine. Clark has good cardio. William Knight does not. Clark will have a 2-inch reach advantage, which will be nice to keep distance. He's just small, man. And that concerns me. So I don't like that this fight is at heavyweight. I don't want to bet Clark. I don't want to bet Knight. I don't know what to do with the under because Devin Clark also, I don't think has ever gotten a finish in the UFC. So if he wins, it's by decision. If William Knight wins, he probably knocks it out. So you don't really want to play with the over under. At that rate, you're just going dog or Clark. And I just can't pull the trigger on Clark. He's too chinny to trust it up at heavyweight, and he's fought. His debut is at middleweight in the UFC. His very first fight was against Jake Collier at middleweight, so he should not be up at heavyweight. Or sorry, Alex Nicholson. He should not be up at heavyweight. So the pick, unfortunately, would have to be Knight. The bet is definitely Knight just because of the value, not because I think he's good, not because I think he's going to win, but plus 150 is definitely the right side there. Then the next fight of the night, we're looking at Munir Luzez at minus 200 going up against Angelusa at plus 170. This fight just got added. Luzez was originally slated to fight Alessio Zaleski, and I was all over it. I was going to bet Zaleski, and then he pulled out. So now we're stuck with Angelusa versus Munir. Munir's, I don't know. Something tells me Munir is very, very bad, and I don't think he's good at all. I went back and watched his fight tape, and it wasn't that bad. His striking was actually pretty good. His cardio wasn't that bad. It was pretty good. He has pretty high volume. He has a 2-inch reach advantage here, and his wrestling didn't look that bad. He took down Abdulrazak Al quite a bit. Honestly, the fight tape said he was a decent fighter, but something in my head just registers that he's bad. Especially his last fight, he fought Warley Alvarez and got embarrassed. He took one shot to the body and just crumbled. So I don't know if that's just fragmented in my head. And if you hit this dude's ribs, he's going out. If you hit hard enough, he could go out. Something about this dude just kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't know. He kind of reminds me of like a Faraz Ziam. I don't think he's that good either. I don't know. I swear I don't have any sort of muscle prejudice. I just don't think he's that. I don't know. He just gives me the impression of someone that's happy to be there. Not like when I'm putting money on an MMA fight, I want you to be a killer. Munir just seems happy to be there, and it kind of rubs me the wrong way a little bit, like thinking that he's going to quit in there. Lusa, on the other hand, is someone who may not be UFC ready, in all honesty. He doesn't have the greatest wins. I remember putting money on him actually against Jack Della Rosa, or whatever his name is. Jack Melod. God, I can never say his name. He has like a middle last name ordeal where he has like 4 different names in there. Jack, I need to read it. It's going to bother me. Jack Della Maddalena. There we go. On the Contender Series. And Jack is a killer. Jack is very, very good. He is going to be a player in the middleweight division in the UFC. But Lusa held his own. He definitely won a round. Round 2, round 3, he looked okay. He didn't quit on himself. He was definitely at a disadvantage pretty much everywhere, but he was able to hold his own. His next ensuing fight against John Howard. John Howard is a powerhouse. He's a striker. He's getting older, but he has UFC experience. He has Bellator experience. John Howard has been everywhere. You expect a big brawl with these two, with them both being predominantly strikers. And Lusa showed his wrestling game, and I like that, in all honesty. The fact that he showed his well-roundingness, his okay striking. He's at Sanford, which is one of the best camps you could be at. He displayed that his wrestling was okay. He likes to counter a lot, and Lizez throws a lot of volume. So Lusa's cardio was okay. He was gassing out, but he was all heart and continued to swing, kind of like the Burns and Cosmat last week. They were both gassed, but they continued to swing with heart. So, in all honesty, I see Lizez pushing the pace, especially with Lusa just fighting 10 days ago and taking this fight on like 6 days notice. He's taking on short notice. He might still be in shape from the last fight he just trained for. But yeah, he's going to be mostly just cutting weight here. I feel like Lizez is going to pressure him, put a good pace on him, and Lusa's going to try to catch him. And it's a matter of what you think is going to happen here. I do like that Lusa mixes in the wrestling. Lizez did too. So I don't know, man. I think the line is off, though. I don't think he should be plus 170. So for that, I'll pick Munir to win. But I think Lusa is the value side when it comes to your money. So the pick is Lizez. The bet would actually end up being Lusa. All right. Then the next fight of the night, we're looking at a good one here. We have TJ Laramie at plus 340 going up against Pat Sabatini at minus 450. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 145. Under 2.5 plus 115. Let's go ahead and start with Pat. Pat's good, man. Pat has striking that's improving. It could get better. He might be a little chinny. I'm not convinced on that, but Jamal Emmers knocked him out like 2 times and he just woke back up. And I've seen it before. Even like he has a lot of amateur fights on YouTube, and I've seen him get cracked quite a bit. And look a little shaky. You can rock this guy. His chin does concern me. But his jiu-jitsu is insane. His Brazilian jiu-jitsu, his wrestling. He may not get the first takedown, but he will continue to shoot and reshoot, baby. He will chain stuff together and get you to the ground. And if he gets you to the ground, you're fucked. This dude is an animal on top. Definitely one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in the division. That camp in general of him and Jeremiah Wells and Sean Brady, if they get on top of you, you are in trouble. They are relentless. We saw it with Aljo last week. Aljamain Sterling's at that camp, and he just, when they get you down, they hold you down. They're so good on top, and Pat can actually wrestle. All in all, I like the guy a lot. He does slow a little bit. So that the cardio concerns me, the striking concerns me, the chin concerns me. He is a little hittable, is pretty low volume, but none of that matters when he's on you. He has your back and you can't do anything. He will also have a 4-inch reach advantage to try to help out a little bit. I like his opponent a lot. I think TJ Laramie is for real. I think his little brother's a little better than him, but TJ's good himself. TJ is pretty well-rounded. He has good cardio. He has really good wrestling, very, very good wrestling. Okay striking. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just kind of there. It's probably better than Pat's, in all honesty. He's super young, man. He's 24. He took a 2-year break since his last fight. He's 24 now. So when he got tapped out and upset, he was 22 years old. Like, the dude is a prodigy. My concern is the fact that he's tiny. He should not be fighting at 145. I understand that he said he had issues making 135. He's fought there in the past. He's not a 45-pounder, man. Pat is so much bigger than him. I like the kid a lot. I think TJ has a bright future. I think he could be a big player at bantamweight. I honestly do think he could be top 10, top 5 at bantamweight. I know bantamweight is stacked. That's how good TJ is. TJ is a phenomenal fighter. But Pat's a bad style at a bad weight class for him, especially coming off of 2 years. He could shock the world. He could come back and look phenomenal. He could do a lot of improving in those 2 years for sure. But I just don't like the Pat style against him and that size advantage. And I also have one rule. If I'm doing fight tape and you have a fight that comes up on Facebook Watch, I'm not betting you. I've never had anyone since I've been doing the podcast win a fight when they have a Facebook Watch video. You can't bet these guys. So unfortunately, TJ, one of the fights I was watching was on Facebook. So for that reason, the pick has got to be Pat. The bet, I don't think he chokes him out. I don't hate the over, but Pat's so good on the ground. I'm not playing around with that. Pick is Pat, bet is Pat. Then that takes us to the apple pie shitter of the week. We have Yanan Wu at plus 340 going up against Myra Bueno Silva minus 450. That just sounds gross. Over under set at 2.5. Over 2.5 minus 185. Under 2.5 plus 150. Let's start with the apple pie shitter herself, Myra. Myra has phenomenal jujitsu. She's very, very, very good on the ground. She has 7 wins. Okay. She has 2 losses. Her 2 losses are to Marina Moreau, who's a stud, Manon Firat. He's a stud. Her wins: Mara Borella, submission. Jillian Robertson, submission. And that's tough. Jillian is known for her ground game. Submitted Jillian. Marina Souza, submission. From Marino, split decision. I don't know what happened there. This Tanya girl, submission. Myla Santos, submission. Shun Lee, submission. She literally has 6 of her 7 wins by submission. She's phenomenal on the ground. The issue is she has had 6 fights in the UFC and shot 0 takedowns. I don't understand it. If they hit the ground and you automatically win, why do you not shoot a takedown? Why do you not pull guard? Why are you not actively trying to get this to the ground? Pat Sabatini does. Jordan Levitt does. What the fuck are you doing? And when she's on her feet, she's not good. She hits hard. Don't get me wrong. She cracks, but she's extremely hittable. She gets hit like with 5 significant strikes per minute. She's only dishing out like 2. She's like she's getting destroyed on the feet. She just hits harder, but she's getting hit 3 times as much. I mean, God. And when she gets hit, she just waves you on like she's Philippe, like literally Carlos Philippe, God bless his heart, used to just get popped in the face and shrug you on saying, let's go. She does the exact same thing. I don't know what her deal is. Take the fight to the ground and win it. I don't know why she does this. I will never trust this woman, especially at minus 450. The only issue is there's not a chance in hell I'm betting on Yanan Wu. Yanan Wu is the biggest fraud in the UFC in this flyweight division, man. I mean, her record's going to give you a 12-4. Let's go ahead and just take a little gander, a little sneak peek at the women that she's defeated. When you look at her record and not just look at it on paper, but actually go through it, her wins are against Lauren Mueller, who's trash. She was a fraud. This girl was 0-0, 0-3, 0-1, 0-0, 0-0, 0-2, 0-0, 0-0, 1-0, 0-0. What? What? Out of all of her wins, all the people that she's fought to have a win, she fought 2 girls that had a win total and that she beat. Like literally Lauren Mueller was god awful, but she was 5-0 at some point. Some crazy way she was 5-0. She was a fraud. She got exposed. But outside of that, the only other girl she fought she only fought one other girl that had a win in her career. Like that is the definition of fraud. And the girl she lost to, Jocelyn Edwards, is ass. She got bullied. Masuku Inoue is not good by any means. And Gina Mazzani, I think she's already been cut. She's pretty bad. Those are good losses to have. Wu sucks. I mean, her striking isn't the worst. It's decent volume, but she's hittable. So both of these girls get hit more than they dish out. Her jiu-jitsu, I mean, she has some jiu-jitsu, she has some submission wins, but against girls that are making their debuts. Like, do you count that? Is it good? Dude, they're both so terrible. Silva's clearly the better fighter, but she fights the worst game plan in the world. Wu will fight the right game plan. She just fucking sucks. At this point, you can't bet the over-under because if it accidentally hits the ground somehow, Myra is going to tap her out in a matter of seconds. You don't want to bet the over. You don't want to bet the under because if she doesn't take it to the ground, they're just going to punch each other. And oh my God, I don't want to bet this fight. If I had the gun to my head, it would definitely be Myra. I can't touch the over under, so I'd have to bet Silva in the off chance that she falls to the ground and somehow gets a submission. I'll just go with that, but stay the hell away from this fight. Don't fall for that minus 450. It is not worth it. And then that takes us, thank God we have an exciting fight after that. We have Miguel Bieza at minus 180 going up against Andre Fiallo at plus 155. Over under set at 1.5. Over 1.5 minus 165. Under 1.5 plus 135. Let's go ahead and start with Fiallo. He's also at Sanford MMA. A lot of Sanford guys this card. He has pretty good striking, in all honesty. He's kind of hittable too. He's a punching bag, and he does slow down a little. His cardio is a little questionable, but he has decent power. He pressures pretty well, and he has pretty good striking. That's about it. I mean, his wrestling, I didn't see a ton of in the fight tape, in all honesty, so I don't really know what it's like. But Baeza doesn't shoot a ton of takedowns. He predominantly strikes anyway. So on the feet, I'd actually probably give the striking edge to Fiallo. It's very close. It's probably 50-50. Miguel Baeza, again, he's really good on the ground, but he doesn't shoot a ton of takedowns. He has pretty good striking as well. I mean, you've seen him go to he's definitely fought the better guys, fighting Santiago Ponzinibbio, Chaos Williams, Matt Brown, I guess. He slows down a little bit too. So both these guys have good striking and will slow down. My thing is, I think Baeza's has the higher volume. He definitely has a higher volume, so I'll give him that. Fiallo doesn't throw as much, so that does concern me. Baeza's hittable too. He gets hit more than he dishes out. So they're both hittable. They're both pretty good strikers. One throws more, one throws with more power. But the thing that separates them the most are their chins. Fiallo has been knocked out twice, but those were wars. Well, Chidi knocked him out pretty quickly. And then Chris Curtis hits like a truck. And in all honesty, it was a war. It was into the third round when it occurred. Baeza concerns me. Matt Brown is like 40 something years old. He's very, very old. They say the power is the last thing to leave, but you should not be getting knocked out by a 40-year-old. He didn't. He got cracked, wobbled, didn't know where he was, but woke up and then ended up finishing Matt Brown. Takashi Sato doesn't throw any punches, didn't really get a chance. Santiago Ponzinibbio rocked him very, very, very badly. Baeza went on to lose the fight. Chaos Williams rocked him so bad he actually went out. I'm looking at his fights here, and out of his last 4 fights, he's been rocked and not known where he was in 3 of the 4. He gets cracked a ton. Fiallo doesn't throw as much, but he's faster and hits harder. If you're telling me it's a 50-50 fight on the feet, neither one's probably going to shoot a takedown. Give me the plus 155. So I think Baeza is the better fighter. I'm going to pick Miguel Baeza, but I'm not betting it. I would actually bet Andre Fiallo, and I might pull the trigger and actually bet him. In all honesty, it's not a bad dog play. All right, and that takes us to the co-main event of the evening. We have Godzi, God bless me, it's God Godzi Omargaziev making the UFC debut against Caio Borrello, also making his UFC debut. Godzi is minus 135, Caio plus 115, over under set at 2.5, over 2.5 plus 100, under 2.5 minus 130. Let's start with Godzi. He's your traditional undefeated Russian. Pretty good wrestling, pretty good submission, striking. It's all right. Not the greatest, but I mean, does his thing. You look at his record. One thing that concerns me is I don't know how his cardio is. Looking at his record, I mean, he has a decision win. I wasn't able to watch this fight, but he does have a decision win, which is good. But he has a first round finish, first round finish, first round finish, first round finish, first round finish. It just says win, first round finish, second round finish, split decision, and then a second round finish. So he finishes his fights early and often. The 2 fights that did go to decision was a split. So someone gave the fight to someone else. And the other one, I wasn't able to see it all. So I have no idea. But it does concern me. I don't know how his cardio is, especially with his wrestling game. That is the fastest way to gas out. So again, we're up at 185 here. So I don't really know how his cardio is. We'll see. I guess we might find out here, especially against someone like Caio, who has pretty good takedown defense, not just in the Contender Series, as Aaron Jeffries kept trying to take him down, but I saw his regional scene. He had pretty good takedown defense as well. He hits pretty hard, man. This dude can strike. He definitely has a striking edge here. The crazy thing is he has an 8-inch reach advantage. That's very considerable. That's a very, very, very big reach advantage. Jiu-jitsu's fine. It checks out. Not a lot of I mean, he's 10-1. He's never been finished. So I mean, in all honesty, the kid's durable. He's good everywhere. He's good. He has good takedown defense, an okay ground game, good striking, 8-inch reach advantage, good volume. I like the kid a lot. And honestly, I wrote down, I like obviously I prefer wrestlers over strikers. But this fight is so close. I said whoever the dog is who I'm going to bet. And it just happens to be Caio here. So the pick is going to end up being Caio. The bet is going to end up being Caio as well. I think this is going to be a great fight, great debut for both guys. But I'll give Caio the slight edge here. And then that takes us to our main event of the evening. We have Bilal Muhammad at plus 150 going up against Vicente Luque at minus 170. Over under set at 2.5, or sorry, 4.5. Over 4.5 plus 100. Under 4.5 minus 130. And I think that's pretty indicative of who wins this fight. We'll start with Bilal here. Plus 150 is not bad odds for Muhammad, in all honesty. Muhammad, I thought he was going to have issues against Stephen Wonderboy Thompson, but he was able to take him down and control him. His wrestling looked phenomenal, that fight, in all honesty. But I think that's more of Stephen Wonderboy slowing down than Bilal improving his wrestling, because just a few fights before that, he was fighting Diego Lima, and he went just a year before he fought Diego Lima, went 1 of 10 on takedowns. Did his wrestling improve that much, or did Stephen Thompson kind of fall a little bit because Gilbert Burns was able to do the same thing to him his fight before? I'm looking at this run. I know he has a really, really good run here, but things are a little shaky. First and foremost, his first loss is to Alan Jaboyne. That's fine. It was back in 2016. Alan was really good at that time, was able to get outclassed there. Vicente Luque came in and knocked him out. And yes, the same Vicente Luque that he's about to fight. This was 5 years ago. It is a tale of different fighters here. He's been very, very active. He's been improving a ton, but Vicente Luque took him out pretty early there. I think it was a little bit of an anomaly. That's the only time that he's ever been finished. But it is easy to note in someone's head that they've already knocked you out. Randy Brown is a good win. I think that's a pretty good win. Randy was younger there, but still, it's still a good win. Jordan Mean is whatever. Tim Means is old as shit. Chance is cut. Jeff Neal is good, but I think Bilal probably should win that fight. Curtis Millender has been cut. Takashi Sato, again, is not good. I think he's been cut too. Lyman Good, cut. Diego Lima, cut. Leon Edwards was whooping his ass, and then there was an accidental eye poke. Damian Maya, 40. Stephen Thompson, 40. So his wins, I mean, I can't say they're bad. I don't want to make excuses for him, but they're against people that have been cut and or were very good, but he caught at the tail end when they're 40 years old, and Damian Maya and Stephen Thompson. Even Diego Lima is kind of old now too. So he keeps fighting all these older guys and taking them out. I think his wins, I think Bilal is very, very good. I love Bilal Muhammad, but I think his win streak's a little sketchy. Vicente Luque, I think the complete opposite. I think he's been an absolute killer. He also fought Stephen Thompson. The issue is Bilal took the right approach and took him down. Vicente wanted to go tit for tat with him and prove that he's a better striker, and it did not work. Stephen pieced him up pretty easily. But outside of that hiccup, Michael Chiesa, that's a good win. Choked out Chiesa, which is an even more impressive way to win that. Tyron Woodley choked him out. That's an impressive way. You don't really finish Woodley. Chiesa, you do finish, but Chiesa is very, very good, and he had his back. And Chiesa is a great jiu-jitsu practitioner. Chiesa had his back. Luque got out of it and tapped him out. That impressed me a ton. Woodley, very, very hard to finish, and he was able to do it in the first minute. That's good. Randy Brown, pretty durable now, a lot better. Was able to knock him out in the second. Nico Price, pretty durable guy, was able to take him out. Again, we mentioned the Stephen Thompson. Mike Perry was a fraud. I don't like the fact that it was a split there. That concerns me. Derek Krantz cut. Brian Barberina. That fight was a little closer than it needed to be. Jalen Turner was super young, but that was a good win. Nico Price, again, good win. Chad Laprise, and no. Leon Edwards lost. That is perfectly fine. And then again, he beat Bilal, Hector Urbina. So his wins and his losses, I'm looking at it here. Carlos Pereira was able to take him down and finish him. Mike Graves was able to take him down and control him. So the two ways he lost were being outclassed by one of the best strikers and by being taken down and controlled. That's the only way he loses fights. And Bilal is a generalist, so I don't see him having that big of an advantage in the wrestling game, and I don't see him outclassing him on the feet. So I will have Luque here. Luque also has a 5-inch reach advantage, pretty good volume, but he's pretty hittable too. He's the punching bag in this instance, and he only has 64% takedown defense. So it'll be interesting. Bilal is going to be on him like white on rice. He is going to be in his face. It would not shock me if Bilal won this fight, but I will have to go Luque here. I just think Luque is a better fighter. So the pick is Vicente. The bet is Vicente. And that is UFC Vegas 51. Again, make sure you give this a like. Smash that like button. Follow us over on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, every major platform. We are there and we are winning, baby. Otherwise, it's a pretty shitty card, but let's make the best of it by getting paid.